Welcome to the Wake and Bake Podcast. It's me, Quentin, your San Diego-based Charger fan.
I'm Pete, the San Diego-based New England fan.
San Diego-based Patriots fan. This is our football podcast about the NFL in general. We like to go on deep dives into our teams occasionally. It's unscripted. So if we start talking about something interesting, we might rant on it for a half hour, though maybe the whole episode. It could just happen. So if you like it, as always, hit that like button and subscribe button, because that helps people know we exist. Not that that's really that important. We just filmed this for the hell of it anyway. So.
Because football.
It's football, baby. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Pickens got traded.
So this week, Pickens got traded for a third-round pick, and they swapped like a seventh and a fifth. I think Dallas got Pickens and
a seventh,
something like that.
Gave up a third.
And gave up a third and a fifth. It was definitely a third. I'm not sure about the late pick swap.
Was Pickens a first rounder? What was he?
I think he was a second rounder.
Really? I feel like, let's see, Pickens. George Pickens. Played at Georgia. 6'3". He's kind of big. He's big for a wideout. 6'3". (6'3) plus. Yeah, second round, 52nd overall. So he didn't have a crazy high draft position.
But I think he was in the same draft as the Patriots took.
I did read that he's due for an extension. Like he's I think he's at the end of his.
Yeah, his rookie contract's about to expire. I think this is the last year of it.
It's like this is like his last year on his contract.
So he's about to get paid.
He's trying to clamor for an extension here. Which he probably believes he's a top wideout for some reason.
I mean, when he wants to play, he is.
He can play well.
His good games are among the best in the league. It's just he's inconsistent. He doesn't put it together every game.
I mean, it's hard to. Oh man, you did orange today?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Look at these people. You're missing out. Missing out. I really haven't paid attention to him much.
I feel like he has like 5 or 6 games a year where he goes off and goes over 100 yards.
Well, I mean, it's really hard to say because the quarterback play has been so spotty in Pittsburgh, right?
Right.
Like that's just been Pittsburgh's problem.
I mean, but now he gets to go play in Dallas where he's going to be the number 2 to CeeDee Lamb, so
I mean,
is that good for him or bad for him? You don't know. He's
going to have
one who wants to get the ball.
He's going to have a substantial upgrade at QB.
If Dak is playing.
Say what you want to say about Dak, but he's better than any of the QBs that This is the best QB Pickens has ever had, and it's not close.
Right.
Let's put it that way. Say what you want to say about Dak, but it has not been good over there in Pittsburgh. Then also, I mean, I didn't know this, but CeeDee Lamb is they use him primarily as like a slot. Not necessarily like an X receiver.
Well, he's not a big X. He's a...
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, my impression in the beginning was that he's like really tall and big or something. Let me look up CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, he's just nasty.
Because Pickens is tall.
Right.
And I do feel like he is a boundary receiver.
He is.
Like he's out there on the edges. I mean, yeah, CD's 6'2", 201, so he's not small. He's got some weight. No.
There's plenty of people in New England who are like, why couldn't we give up a 3rd-round pick for
Get
him?
CeeDee Lamb?
No, for Pickens.
Oh, yeah, I could
he
see
got
that.
traded, they're like, why? If he was available, why?
I could see that.
Why
Like,
weren't we in on that?
Yeah, I could see that. Like, what the hell? Give me some Pickens, dude. Come on.
Now there's a long list of Steelers receivers who put up fantastic numbers in Pittsburgh and then leave Pittsburgh because for whatever reason Pittsburgh doesn't want to pay them. Tomlin's done with the head case, and they go somewhere else, and they are not the same production as they were in Pittsburgh. So
like they do worse.
Yeah, like fall off a cliff.
Right. AJ Brown.
The biggest name is Brown.
Yeah.
Not AJ Brown.
Or not AJ Brown, but what was his first name?
I had it just now, but now I don't know.
It's not AJ. It's not Steve. Why am I thinking maybe Steve?
I mean, he even went to the Patriots and played with Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and couldn't get his shit together.
Yeah, right.
And then he went to Tampa and played with Tom Brady again because Tom Brady loved him.
Yeah.
Like he went out.
No, I remember that. Tom Brady. I mean, just because when he was with the Steelers and when he was ascending as a top wideout, I mean, he was a bad mother trucker, man.
And then, there's more than just him. There's Juju obviously more to a lesser extent. But
you think Juju hit the crazy button?
I mean, his not necessarily crazy, but like his production was never what it was.
Yeah, it fell off. Agreed.
Even with Mahomes, he was just
his stock was highest with the Steelers for some reason. For some reason. But that's a good move for Pickens because CD will take a lot of the coverage off him. Teams aren't going to roll. They're not going to roll coverage to Pickens. Like CeeDee Lamb is going to be the focal point.
But all of a sudden,
that secondary.
All of a sudden, they have two guys that the defensive coordinator has to circle.
Now they can't. They can't forget about Pickens. They'll have to game plan for that.
Which is, when there's only one dude to circle, defenses can lock in on that guy and do what they want. But when there's two guys, it's a different game.
I mean, that's my point is that, he's been the single threat with Pittsburgh and no QB. Now he's going to a place with a good QB, and he's actually the secondary threat.
Yeah.
Which is going to be good for him. He's going to get more single coverages than he's ever seen, probably.
Right.
In his career. And does Dak... I feel like Dak can throw a deep ball.
Oh, yeah. The only knock against Dak is staying healthy. He can do anything quarterback-wise.
What's that?
I feel the only knock against Dak is staying healthy. He can do anything quarterback-wise.
I'd agree with that. I mean, yeah, because I mean, how many? It's been more than one season where he's lost significant starts,
he's missed
right?
Multiple games, yeah. Like, so you know, Dallas is hoping this goes down as one of those crazy blockbuster trades. You know, that franchise-altering. We go from piddling making the playoffs as a wild card. They're not even winning the division now because the Eagles are so good. But you go from that fringe playoff team to getting over the hump and getting some wins in the playoffs.
Dude, yeah.
And pushing to the NFC Championship
Cowboys
and beyond, you know? Like, so we'll see.
Yeah, you got the Super Bowl champion freaking Eagles, dude. And I think, you know, the narrative that the Eagles, I think the Eagles have a chance to get some dynasty type.
Oh yeah, they're on that track to be.
Yeah. They're
cemented as
you
competitive,
know?
like NFC champion.
I don't know that we can say they dethroned the Chiefs, but they have that potential
not in
to.
1 year.
They have the potential to.
Well,
Like if they do it again this year, if they get there,
the Chiefs went to what, 4 out of 6 Super Bowls, 4 out of 5 the last. 5
Yeah.
years. So
I mean,
they're not there yet.
the Chiefs would have to not make the Super Bowl this year.
Well, not just that. The
Eagles would.
The Eagles would have to keep going, win or lose. Like they have to keep going, so they have to keep beating the Lions, and you know, like the other good NFC teams to get to the Super Bowl.
What would have to happen for the Chiefs? I think the Chiefs would have to like make it shallow. I mean, let's be honest. They're going to make the playoffs most likely, but they would have to get. It'd have to be like shallow.
Like not go to the AFC Championship.
Yeah, like for a couple years, and then the Eagles would have to go to the Super Bowl for like the next 2 years in a row, kind of thing. And then you're like, yeah, they've officially been unseated. Is like
taken over as the current dynasty.
Is the current. And then even then, I don't know that you can say the Chiefs dynasty is over as long as Mahomes and Reed are there.
Right.
Because they're always going to be a really good team.
I mean, even
they're never going to be a bad team with those two guys.
I mean, Belichick and Brady took years off of winning Super Bowls, and they still kind of consider it. A lot of people consider it 2 separate dynasties, but still, it's the Patriots dynasty.
I mean,
so,
unless
if Philly and Kansas City meet head to head in the Super Bowl many years in a row, or you know, every other year, and Philadelphia wins some, you know, against KC head to head a few more times, then that would do it.
either way, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Like the Eagles, they're in this position where, I mean, like, if I'm predicting, if I'm a betting man today, I think the Eagles are just going to beat on the Cowboys for the next for the foreseeable future.
I mean, that's the problem for the Cowboys is like they got to get out of there.
Now you got a Chiefs in your division, kind of, right? Like the Chiefs of the NFC, are now in your division.
Or when Josh Allen got to Buffalo, like we still have to play against Tom Brady. Like, can't even get out of the division.
This just reinforces my point that the Cowboys are the Chargers, but in the NFC and with big money. The Cowboys Chargers.
Which is not the Chargers.
Yeah. There should be a thing called cowboying. There really should be a thing called cowboying. Okay? Like, because they're the Chargers just with big money in out of Texas. I don't like blowing it.
I mean, the Romo fumble
Good roster.
on the extra point was like the original.
I mean, it's so chargering.
Was
you know?
the original chargering like
This cowboying thing, how charging became charging and cowboying didn't become cowboying. It's not fair.
I don't know. Yeah,
It's not right, dude.
To tell you, man.
It's not right. Just saying. Here's a good question. I was kind of going down this tangent. I was just thinking about this. Like, Mahomes has had two not really great seasons the last 2 years.
Correct.
Like, his stats declined. I mean, the year before last year was his worst year on record stats-wise, where he was really coming back down to earth. It's not to say he doesn't have these plays every once in a while still that you're just like, fucking Mahomes, right?
Right.
But the frequency of those plays is going down, and the consistency of the rest of his play is declining substantially.
I agree.
And this is not just 1 year. This is 2 years in a row.
It's a few years, both on him and the overall talent of that team. Kelsey is not the same player as he was 3 or 4 years ago.
I mean, here's the big question too, though. Is that a product of his surrounding cast? Because you could also argue his offensive line has been the worst it's been during his career over the last 2 years. I mean,
especially last year. I don't know about 2 years
I'm not an expert on the Chiefs O-line. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like it was still okay 2 years ago.
But I feel like he's always had a pretty good squad.
He has.
Up until the last 2 years, where it started to become, it's definitely become much more questionable. And that is what was exposed in the Super Bowl, was like that O-line could not stack up against that D-line.
Well, and I think the team talent overall was starting to get exposed. Maybe even 2 years ago, where they're not just ripping off 10-0 starts anymore, where they weren't, you know, that they're losing a couple games in September, and you're like, is this the year they don't make it to the Super Bowl? Like last year, it was. Is this the year they don't make the playoffs? They started so poorly.
Well, I mean, what's nuts is last year's record, dude. What, they almost had a perfect season, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
They were threatening for a perfect season last year.
No, they lost some games early.
No, they didn't. Like, I'm telling you, don't remember that? They kept winning these really close games, maddening close.
Maybe it was 2 years ago where they had a bunch of losses early.
That was
And
it. Was
then
the
last
2
year they kept winning all the close games.
It was 2 years ago when they started out slow, and everybody's like, they're not, you know. And then they got hot in the end of the year, and then they win the freaking Super Bowl.
Right. Yeah. Last year it was similar. They looked bad in the beginning of the season, but they kept
they looked bad, but they kept stacking dubs.
They kept getting
It was one of the most maddening storylines of the year was that, like, are these guys going to go perfect, barely winning these games through fluky, crazy stuff? Because when the Patriots were knocking on that door, it was like they were the most dominant offense and defense in the league. Like, it was just, they were just blowing people out on a regular basis.
Until the last one.
Until the very last game of the season.
In 18, which we all kind of saw, if you watch the Dynasty documentary, like, the locker room had gotten so chaotic and toxic that they weren't that good that whole year. You know, it was like, I mean, they still have Tom Brady, but like they're really not scoring at will like they used to. And then Like the last 2 games of the season or going into the playoffs, Josh McDaniels like changed their base offense. And because he's a magician, it worked. We all know the rest of the story.
So yeah, I mean, getting back to the question here, I think there's a case or a conversation to make that, like, is Mahomes actually like truly declining? Like, does it stop this season?
And I'm pushing back with, we said that about Brady like 5 times. So,
man, fuck Tom Brady.
both Brady and the rest of the Patriots roster, like multiple times. Like, is this the year they just didn't do enough and they still go to the AFC Championship? So
I mean that goes back to the bigger.
Until they really don't make the playoffs like multiple times in a row.
That goes
Chiefs
back
are
to the
never
bigger
done.
question that I was like, how long does a dynasty go? Like, just because you have a few seasons off, the Patriots had a few seasons where it wasn't,
Yeah.
they were
They still
perennially the
they
dangerous
still went
team.
to the AFC Championship 11 times in a row or whatever it was.
Yeah, I agree. Like, for the whole 2 decades, it was
So
Patriots in the playoffs. Boy, are they going to the Super Bowl this year? Like, they could.
right. I mean, they're gonna make the playoffs.
They could always, always make a run into the Super Bowl. Like that, they're the biggest.
The arrogant New England fans would say that the season didn't start until January 15th.
Yeah.
Second round of the playoffs.
Something that I was thinking on yesterday in regards to the Chargers. Here's the thing. Okay, so going into last season, no new regime. Chargers had always been able to kind of get it done on offense, they felt. It was always a very kind of dangerous offense.
Said Justin Herbert.
Yeah, because the defense was the problem. Inconsistent, big plays, not being able to put games away.
Like, have the lead and can't.
Inconsistent
can't make the stop.
play. Yeah, just you look at the loss in Jacksonville, and the offense should have put up at least one more touchdown, but the defense allowed 27 points. Like, we couldn't stop them. We couldn't stop any of their drives for the whole second half of the game.
Right.
Or even beginning before the second half.
Yeah, when
We
there's
didn't
like
stop
5 minutes
A
to go.
single drive, yeah. We went from 4 interceptions to not stopping a single drive. And so going into the season, my whole thing was, man, if that Chargers defense can go from one of the bottom 5 to a top 10, like, you better watch out. This is going to be a really dangerous team.
And you're right there, yeah.
They turned out to be a top 5 defense. They turned out to be like a top 3 defense, which was nuts. To ascend from bottom 5 to top 5, to flip that with almost the same personnel group is freaking nuts, right?
It is. Is that points against or yards?
Points against. They were number 1 points against regular season. I don't know about total yards. I imagine the total yards was pretty high too, though. Like if they're points against, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those stats aren't going to fall too far from each other, right?
No, but they are always a little different, which is like total defense is yards, which I always thought was kind of dumb.
Because a lot of defenses, you know, they run this bend don't break system, right? You start to make it more challenging as the field condenses near the end zone. The defense has less ground to cover, and they can get better.
Well, and yeah, making the stop in the red zone and giving up a field goal instead of a touchdown is how you win games.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
But yeah, you gave up 60 yards on that drive, but they only came away
I mean,
with
at the
3
end of the
points.
day, you win and lose games based on points, not yards.
Right.
Yards are nice. Hopefully you got some points if you got a bunch of yards, but I mean, we've all lost those games too, where it's like, what the hell, dude? Like, we put up this many yards and didn't get any points. The winner of the game is not the team with the most yards. That's not how it's decided, people.
Right. So now are you concerned about the offense now that they fixed the defense?
Well, that being said, I mean, they fixed it. You know?
Yeah.
You can,
The LA Harbaughs play good defense now.
they fixed it. So now you go, okay, what was the problem last season? Well, the problem last season was kind of inconsistent offense.
Right.
And it's because of the type of offense they were trying to run. I was making this point to my friend Brian yesterday. Actually, this is a good discussion to have on the podcast, actually. Brian he came at me real soft. I mean, he's a Herbert fan too. I think he's a big Herbert fan as I am. But when some commentator, it was like Sims. I don't know if I like Chris Sims. He says some stuff sometimes, I think, just to kind of like, it's clickbait. Clickbait type shit. And
it's arrogant quarterback. Like, I'm better than him.
You know what I hate? There's these commentators there's these pundits out there that love to use Justin Herbert as like a clickbait topic. Like, oh, everybody says he's so good, but when's he gonna win the big game? And like they talk all this shit.
Just to bring it back to Dallas, they say it's the same thing with Dak Prescott. Super talented, but can never win
They
the big
do the
game.
same thing to Dak, but they do it to Herbert way worse, I think.
Well, now it's more recent. Is Herbert is the new guy on the block, but before Herbert, they were doing it to Dak.
They do it to Herbert way worse.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's one of my biggest peeves of last season, period. Joe Burrow. Because that's who Herbert's always stacked up against because they were drafted together.
Right.
Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert. Okay? And everybody's like, Joe Burrow, because he went to a Super Bowl, like his first year or something? Second year, yeah.
Because they drafted him and then they drafted Chase the next year and they went.
And I love Joe Burrow. He's a baller, okay, to be sure. Great quarterback. I think he's going to be a great quarterback for a long time. He can do it all. Okay?
Yeah.
But Bengals did what? What was their record last season? Brutal.
They lost the Patriots, which is unacceptable.
Brutal. Yeah, exactly. They lost to the Patriots. Well, what was sad is...
I don't care if it was game 1.
What was sad is they needed to win. It was like they
Had they won that game, I think they would have made the playoffs.
They were on the ropes.
Yeah.
It was, and then here you've got a disorganized Patriots organization, you know, all kinds of problems on the line, you know, you name it, right? And they don't win the game. They win the game that they have to win.
Yeah.
Here's my beef. You know what my beef is? Nobody's criticizing Burrow. Nobody.
Yeah.
And that never happens to Herbert. It's never like his team failed him. They got to put some stuff like, the narrative is like, oh, Justin Herbert just can't win the big game, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's never said about Burrow, ever. Just because he went on this one playoff run.
Well, because
like
he
one playoff
has
run,
won
okay?
the big game.
Huh?
Because he has won the big game.
I mean, he lost the Super Bowl. They did not win the Super Bowl, okay? They fucking lost.
Yeah, but he got there.
They lost it.
But he got there.
He got there, but they lost it. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but he had to beat Mahomes in the AFC Championship to get there.
Do you know who has... There's a stat here. It's like most fourth quarter comebacks to within like 3 points or something like that. Like biggest deficits and then coming back into bringing it within 3 points.
Uh-huh.
Or one possession.
Win or lose, just having a big hole and bringing it back to
closing a hole and making it close at the end of the game where it could have been anybody's.
Okay.
That's the stat.
Yeah.
You know who number 1 and 2 are?
Herbert and Burrow, just because we're talking about them?
Herbert and your boy the GOAT.
Oh.
It's Herbert and Brady. That's who. Like somebody threw that stat and it's like, how can you say this guy doesn't ball, dude? You know what I'm saying? In the fourth quarter, how can you even, like, that is not at all the stat, dude. He's second to the fucking GOAT. Like, what the hell? That gets me upset. Legitimately upset. Like, how can you say this guy doesn't put you in a position to win the big game? Like, he's done, if he is doing that, the defense has to do something too, you know what I'm saying? And Brady had that. They would come out on the win side because the defense would do their job when they needed to do their job, right?
It's true.
But Herbert's bringing them back in it. As good as any quarterback has in the history of the NFL. He is giving you a chance to win that game. As good as any QB has ever. So, to say that he can't operate in the big game.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you're saying there's a chance. But getting back to the point here, like Brian was just like, Herb's got to deliver the goods. Sims was challenging that.
Like being clutch and actually winning the game.
Yeah, you gotta win the big game. Well, here's the thing, this off season, I'm gonna try to weave all this back together here, okay? You know, last season, the problem going into the season, that was the bold, big problem that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to freaking figure out was the defense, okay? This season, the big, bold problem that you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out is like, there were no weapons for Justin Herbert in that Houston game. We had one guy that was like a real threat to that defense.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, they want to be a running team.
We had a gimpy.
You don't fear their running game.
Yeah, we had a gimpy J.K. Dobbins, a half-healthy Gus Edwards, practice squad running backs behind them. So there's no real run threat here.
And Josh Palmer as their number 1 receiver. Who's not
Ladd. I mean, it was just Ladd. And nobody else. was really good enough to beat man coverage.
Right.
You know, like we didn't have enough man beaters. And Houston is really good at man. They like man.
Well, and they have one of the best secondaries in the league.
They're one of the best secondaries in the league. Like Pro Bowl players, basically the whole starting secondary is Pro Bowl, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
And then they had like a nasty kind of O-line front too, by the way. I mean, their defensive line, like they've got some feisty dudes up front. And they know how to stunt them and stuff. So
I mean,
they attacked the Chargers.
Is one of the best.
They attacked the Chargers' O-line weakness, which was the interior of their line. They knew that. And then they put everybody else in man and had some safeties hunting. And it worked great. It worked great. Because that's going to work great if you literally have one weapon, which is Ladd McConkey.
Right.
So, big glaring need, not enough weapons. You also got to realize too the type of offense they were trying to run. Play action.
Yeah.
Play action is setting up what looks like a run play, putting two tight ends out there, you make it look like run, and then you throw out of it.
But if you don't ever run the ball well, then it doesn't work.
But yeah, if you can't establish a dominant run game, the whole thing does not work. It just does not work at all. And one of the things you have to use too is you have to, I believe, a dominant pass catching tight end threat is like necessary for like dominant play action. Okay, like that's the secret ingredient that makes that thing work. Because if you look back at Greg Roman's best season as an offensive coordinator, that's the season that Lamar Jackson won his first MVP, which they ran dominant play action. Guess who was in his second year as tight end? Mark Andrews. Like that's when the legend of Mark Andrews became the legend of Mark Andrews.
Thought you were going with Hurst.
No.
I know.
Not Hurst.
Just kidding.
Hey, Hurst was there too.
Just because he was on the chart.
Hurst was there too, but Andrews is the one that ascended.
No, I know. So you want a dominant tight end. You want a dominant wide receiver.
We need pass catching tight ends.
You want a road grader for a left guard.
So now, if you look at the new roster here, we have playmakers. We've got two playmakers at X. We brought back Mike Williams, which we didn't have 1X last season, okay? Not one.
Right.
We did not have a true X receiver threat. That's the guy that can run down the sideline, has a really strong contested catch rate, can make a defense really worry about that guy breaking off a touchdown, who can beat man coverage or at least challenge it really well. Like they're looking for that one-on-one on the outside.
Yeah.
You need that guy that can push, that can make that a problem for a defense, you know?
Because when they were like Keenan Allen who, they drafted Ladd McConkey and that worked out. And then when they were like Mike Williams.
But we didn't have any other ingredients,
they were like Mike Williams who? And they were like, yeah, we don't have anybody there.
Well, I think they were kind of hoping QJ could make that jump because he has the size. QJ's a really tall, big receiver, actually.
Yeah.
And I really feel like they wanted to kind of give him a shot to do that.
And he was supposed to have amazing hands.
They threw him. I mean, if you look at the way they used him, on one hand, they did try to play to his strengths, you know, put him in those situations, the things that he's good at. And you know what? to his credit, QJ had some touchdowns because of it. He was running X on those, okay?
He did. He was a lot better last year than his rookie.
And he improved.
Yeah.
But not to the point where teams are scared of that guy at X.
Right. Not to the first round talent in his second year. Should be dominating.
Well, I think more importantly, scheme-wise, he's not your long-term solution. You're not going like, okay, we're good at X. Like, he's got that.
Yeah.
He can do it. You know what? If you're running like an X and a Y, and so he's like your second target, like, that's what you want him as. You don't want him as the target.
Yeah.
Your number one target, you know? Down the sidelines. So what did they do this season? We brought back Mike Williams, who was a legitimate X threat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Had a bad season last season, worked through his injury, stayed healthy. Guess what? We got him back on the cheap. Pretty much league veteran minimum.
Yeah.
And guess who he has a fantastic rapport with? Because he worked with him every year of his career otherwise. It's
Aaron
just
Rodgers.
a Herbert. Not Aaron Rodgers. That's for sure.
I mean, hopefully Aaron Rodgers didn't ruin him.
So
that's all you can hope for.
Mike Williams, we'll see if he's lost a step or if he can still do it. He was never a burner. His strength was always contested catch. And Herb and him knowing where, like, he knows where Herb wants to put the ball, you know?
Yeah.
And he knows how to set that up. Which goes, so short and skinny is he's plug and play. They can do that. Herb trusts Mike Williams, and most of all, Mike knows how to fight for the ball at the catch point so that the other guy doesn't come down with it. I think he's your number one. So X receiver, didn't have one last year. This year we got Mike Dubb, plug and play solution. We backed it up with the second round draft pick, Trey Harris, who's another big X receiver with great contested catch. Trey Harris is going to push Mike Williams to start. If Mike is not bringing his A game, Trey Harris is going to get reps.
Yeah, I mean, they're hoping they have Trey Harris and Ladd McConkey as their 1-2 for a long time.
Trey Harris and Ladd?
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know, that would be a...
And then Trey Harris is the long-term solution, too.
As the X.
I mean, the good news, too, is even if Mike Dubb has a good season and he's healthy, I don't think he's going to want another big contract. Like, I don't think he's ever going to try and leave the Chargers again. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that was horrible. He was like, that was the worst year ever, okay? Like, he goes from being like this well-known X-receiver threat, gets all the starting reps, you know.
To living in the Northeast.
Like, you're the back of the roster. Maybe we'll throw to you once or twice today. Like, I don't know. It was a culture shock for him, dude. He's never been in that position his whole life. I mean, you should have saw the smile on his face in the building. Like, oh, God, I'm so glad to be back. Thank God. Yeah, dude, give me league minimum. I don't care. Like, I just want to play football and be happy again.
And live at the beach.
Go to the beach. Come on. So, no X threat last season. We've got the X now. No weapons last season. Okay, X covered. Why? We got Ladd McConkey. Backing up Ladd McConkey. We have Jalen Reagor, who's an ex-first round draft pick.
Sacrificial X, running nines.
Yeah, there's...
You haven't even brought up your second round pick, or your first round pick, in the running back.
Oh, we're getting a running back.
Oh my.
We're covering the wide receivers right now, though. You know what I mean?
I thought you were just doing weapons in general.
What does the wide receiver depth chart look like? Essentially, you got Ladd McConkey's the number 2 wideout. Stacked right behind him. If you need a third wide receiver, it's going to be QJ. You got Smith, which was our 4th or 5th round. No, yeah, our fifth round, one of our 5th round picks. Who's a big play. He's Ladd McConkey, part 2. So we've got a rookie to back up Ladd. If Ladd goes down, we've got either Reagor or this guy is going to step in and fill those shoes. QJ's in the mix as the third, is like the Z receiver. The receiver room got way, way better.
Agreed.
Both of our picks are the kinds of guys that will threaten to get starting reps. They will. Because they're that good.
Well, and the guys in front of them are not super good.
I mean, nobody's going to get reps over Ladd McConkey. That's for certain. But Mike will, because of his experience. With Justin, you know?
Right.
He's going to... So anyway, there's weapons in the outfield now. And we're 2 deep. It's not just one person deep. If one person gets injured, we're screwed. They are deep.
Yeah. Well, you got to have more than one.
They're
anyway.
2 deep. They're 2 deep at every position now.
Even on a run-first team that wants to, you know...
If we look at the tight ends,
12 position.
we've got 2 legitimate pass-catching threat tight ends. The guy we drafted and Conklin. Both those guys are contested catch monsters. Conklin had one of the highest contested catch rates in football, but he's kind of undersized. He's 6'3". He's only 240.
Yeah. I mean, he's a pass-catching tight end.
Huh?
He's a pass-catching tight
Yeah,
end.
he's not going to give you much on the run block. He's not going to give you much blocking because he's just not big enough.
Right.
He's not big enough to take on NFL defensive ends. He's not. That is not the matchup you want. You know?
Right.
Then we've got 2 run blocking tight ends. Disley and Tucker Fisk, both really, really great run blocking tight ends who do have some soft hands. You can throw to them. If they're open, they're not contested catch monsters, but if they're open, they will catch the ball. You know? And then if we go to the running backs room, like I said, last year's situation, going into the playoffs, like, kind of didn't have a real running back threat. Nobody that was healthy.
Right.
Even then, it's like, you're talking about practice squad dudes who are like a scat back.
Yeah.
They're not power backs. So
and your entire offense was...
yeah. So this year what they did is they said, screw the whole scat back thing. We're going to fill the whole room with power backs, like complete backs. And that is what they did. Najee Harris is a complete back. He's a 3-down back. He can do it all. Najee's 6'2", 240, dude.
He's a beast.
He's a big dude. Like, outside of Derrick Henry, he might be like one of the biggest top-level backs in the league right now. You know what I mean? Size-wise?
Yeah, pound.
I don't know if anybody's bigger than him. Like, he's a big dude. Most of all, he's got healthy time. 3-4 years, that guy's been getting every touch for the Steelers. Never missed a game. Always produced. There's a big trend of health. They're not signing anyone that has injury histories these days. I don't know if that's premeditated or not, but it's a pretty strong trend. So now we're Najee Harris. We drafted Omarion Hampton, who's 6 foot 225. Another power back. And then, I mean, one of the biggest scores of the UDFA, they're saying the Chargers' biggest pickup in the UDFAs is actually this running back that they picked up out of the SEC named Raheem Rocket Sanders.
I hope his jersey says Rocket.
Yeah. I don't know where the rocket thing comes from. I really don't.
I mean,
But he's a big power back.
Or something?
He's a big power back. He's 6 foot. He's the same size as Hampton, pretty much.
Wow.
And he's a complete back. So what's kind of cool about that too is last year we had to carry 4 running backs on the roster because we had 2 power backs and 2 scat backs.
Well, and it was assumed that one of them would get injured that game.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday.
I think with this crew, you're looking, I think they'll go Sundays with just 3 backs. Najee, Hampton, and I think Rocket will make the roster. I really do. There's not really any guys but I mean, the biggest point that I was trying to make is that the Chargers are they are 2 to 3 deep at every playmaking position, which was not the case last season.
It's not just Justin Herbert and a bunch of guys off the street.
Yeah. They have completely made over the playmaking positions on the Chargers roster. Completely. It's been a complete overhaul. And then made pretty key additions to the interior O-line. I don't want to discount Mekhi Becton, because that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. He's a big dude.
Big dude, big deal. But Brian was bringing that up like, hey, if he doesn't perform, like, I don't know. There's a lot of pressure. Sims said that Herbert, this was his statement, Herbert is in the biggest hot seat this season of all the quarterbacks in the league.
Because they like finally put talent around him, allegedly.
And I was like,
more so than when they had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yeah, I was like, shut the fuck up with that.
In Mike Williams' prime, like.
Yeah. I was like, no. Herbert's not in a hot seat of any shape, form, or fashion, okay?
Well, I mean, quarterbacks in the hot seat are quarterbacks who are going to just become a backup, which happens in your first couple years. Like, are you good enough to be a starter? Yes or no? But at this point, once you're good enough to be a starter, and when in the case of Justin Herbert, a top 5 QB in the league, like, you're not on the hot seat for anything.
I mean, I just think that comes down to the people in the building who have been in the NFL for a long, long time and know what, like, they know what talent is, right? Because they see it every day. And like every coach that's ever worked with Herbert goes, this guy's got the most talent I've ever worked with.
Right.
Like, he's the best. Like, there's never been a question on that. Nobody's ever hedged on that. Ever. Not Harbaugh, and Harbaugh definitely knows Harbaugh is a former QB himself.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody knows what it takes to be a fucking pro quarterback in the NFL, actually it's Jim fucking Harbaugh, okay?
Well,
who's another pro level QB for 15 years in the league that was a number 1 draft pick? Is there another head coach in the league? I don't think so.
Who was it?
He might be the only head coach in the league he was a Pro Bowl quarterback himself.
I thought you were going to say, is there another quarterback who's been a very good starting quarterback for 10 years and just kept getting trash talked about him that he couldn't win the big game?
I mean, Phillip Rivers.
And I would say Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning. Oh no, the same thing was said about Peyton Manning for a long time. Like,
he's really good, but he can't get over the hump.
And he did.
But no one was ever questioning Peyton Manning being on a hot seat. Like,
no, exactly. Exactly. Nobody ever said that.
He was always considered one of the best in the league.
And that's my point. Like, the Herbert disrespect goes that far. Like, the correlations between him and Manning are very, very, it's very good.
Just, hopefully his little brother doesn't win one before he does.
So my answer to that is emphatically, hell fucking no. He's not in a hot seat of any shape, form, or fashion. Like, there's no. Ownership knows what they have with the Chargers.
That's stupid. Because
Chargers ownership knows what they have. They've had Drew Brees in the building. They've had Rivers in the building.
There's 20 teams in the league that would take him in a heartbeat. That would give him $50 million a year.
They would give 3 first-rounders for it.
Yeah.
It would be the biggest bonehead decision the Chargers ever made, ever. And Herbert would go on to win many Super Bowls. You know?
Yeah. Like, can you imagine if it was the reverse of Eli and Phillip Rivers, and he goes to the Giants, and all of a sudden, with the
oh my God,
throwing Malik Neighbors.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No, never happened.
You're like, don't even say that.
And Sims is an idiot for saying it.
Yeah.
Yes, the Chargers got some weapons, but it's not like they went out. It's not like they're the Bengals and they have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, okay? Like, they haven't sold out on the weapons. They've lined up some depth. And it shouldn't be a bad, it's a greatly improved situation.
Yeah.
Which team do you think has the strongest roster weapons-wise today? That's a nice, let's make that our closing discussion.
I mean, the Eagles. Running back and two awesome wide receivers.
I mean, that's a good place to start. Super Bowl champions, you know? Not a bad place to start. The Dolphins, Waddle and Hill.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only wide receiver combo that
Could
rivals
challenge Chase and
AJ
Pickens.
Brown. Well, I'm saying the Eagles and AJ Brown and
Yeah, but
little guy.
okay, yeah, but I'm taking Jamar Chase and Higgins, and even the tight end. Who's their tight end there with the Bengals? Goddard? No, Goddard's with the Eagles.
The Eagles.
The Bengals have a tight end. It's not too bad either.
It's decent, but the running back is way.
Bears have a real strong weapons list. They got even better. They took Colson Loveland.
They do.
I mean, the argument last season was that the Bears were just loaded up like nuts at weapons.
At all the skill positions, and they just didn't have an
Did-
offensive line.
didn't-
So
didn't
we'll
the-
see if
I feel like the Bears picked up a running back too this offseason, didn't they?
they did. But they vastly improved their offensive line.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
that, and there's that too. They put in like huge amount of work on the O-line.
Because they had like across the board the worst off, like between them and the Patriots, they were 1 and 2 as the worst in like every offensive line stat.
Bears running back. They picked up some guy, Monongai. I don't know him. So, I don't know about that.
But yeah, I mean, I would say the Dolphins receiver duo is better than Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, but when you add in the running back, I would still give it to the Eagles.
So not the Chiefs. The Lions. Lions got some weapons.
Yeah, they're in the discussion for sure.
Amon St. Brown. Laporta's his total stud. I feel like they've got a number 2 receiver stacked up with Amon St. Brown too. That's
Yeah,
not
they
bad.
got, what's his name, Williams?
Is it Williams?
Yeah.
They've got a Williams also?
Yeah, you know, it's always a good guess.
It's always a Williams. It's always a Williams. Always a Williams on the outside. They got 2 running backs. Awesome running backs.
They do. They have a better quarterback, but that's not part of the discussion.
Yeah, Goff is no slouch.
Anyway, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah. Bills?
No.
I can't really think of many outside of their running back. I can't say the Bills. Dalton Kincaid isn't bad, but he's not Laporta. Ravens, Zay Flowers, Derrick Henry, obviously. It's a big deal.
He is.
But outside of Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry, there's not. I don't know anybody.
And Mark Andrews dropping 2
Mark Andrews. Which I'm not out on Mark Andrews, okay, guys? Like, Mark Andrews is a great tight end. I want Mark Andrews on the Chargers, okay? If they can sign him this offseason, I'm all for it. I am still in the Mark Andrews, like, let's get that guy fan club. Would love Mark Andrews. All right, that's all we got for you today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Monday. Have an awesome
See you
weekend.
next
Bye-bye. Bye.